Look, last week I was talking with a friend, and he said, I'm thinking about moving to Tokyo. In New York, you can't live on $3,000 a month. But in Tokyo, people say you live like a king. And I told him, that's one of the biggest misconceptions people believe. Because here's what most people assume. If I move to a cheaper city, my money will go further and I'll save more. Sounds reasonable. But what I'm about to show you might completely change how you think about this, because cost of living isn't just rent. It's hidden expenses, money psychology, and most importantly, what kind of life your budget actually creates. So let's break it down with real numbers. Real trade-offs and a few uncomfortable truths. All right, same budget, $3,000 per month. Two very different cities, New York versus Tokyo. Let's start with New York. In Manhattan, the average studio is around $3,300 a month, meaning you're already over budget before you even pay for food. Now you might say, okay, but I don't need Manhattan. Fair. In Queens, average rent is around $2,400. Brooklyn is closer to $2,800. So let's be optimistic and say you find a place in Queens for $200 leaves you $800. For everything else. Now Tokyo. In Central areas like Shibuya or Shinjuku, you can often find a clean one-bedroom for $800 to $1,200, and if you move a bit farther out, yes, sometimes even $600. So at first glance, it feels like Tokyo wins easily. And this is where most people stop. They see the rent difference, and they decide, but that's not the full story. Here's the psychological trap almost nobody talks about. Let's say Tokyo saves you $1,000 a month on rent. Logically, you should save that money, but in reality, most people don't single quotes because when you save money in one category, your brain silently gives you permission to spend more in others. This is called mental accounting. You start thinking, I'm doing great, I'm saving on rent. I can treat myself a little. And that's how the extra money disappears without you noticing. Not because you're irresponsible, but because the environment changes your spending behavior. And this happens in both cities, but in different ways. Okay, let's get specific. If rent is $2,200 in Queens, you have $800 left. Monthly basics. Unlimited subway pass, $132. Phone, $50 internet, $60 electricity, $80 to $100. Laundry, $40 to $60, that's roughly $362 to $402 before you eat a single meal. So now you're down to around $400. Now food. In New York, a basic meal out is often $15 to $25. If you eat out twice a day, even modestly, that can hit $900 to $1,500 a month. So you say, fine, I'll cook at home. But groceries aren't cheap either. A realistic monthly grocery budget often lands around $400 to $600 depending on where you shop. So with $3,000 total, New York becomes a constant math problem. And that stress matters. Because living on the edge financially doesn't just affect your wallet, it affects your decisions. Now Tokyo, let's say rent is $1,000 monthly basics. Transportation, $100 to $150. Phone, $30 to $40. Internet, $30. Electricity, $60 to $80. Laundry, often included. At home, so fixed costs might land around $1,220 too. $1,300, that leaves you with roughly $1,700. Food is where Tokyo feels like a cheat code. A solid bowl of ramen might be $6 too. $8, convenience stores can give you surprisingly decent meals for $4 to $7. Even if you eat out regularly, you might spend $360 to $620. Monthly, groceries can be around $200 too. $300 depending on your habits. So yes, Tokyo leaves you with much more breathing room. But here's the twist. That breathing room is exactly what creates the next problem. Because when daily life feels affordable, people start upgrading everything. Weekend trips, nightlife, shopping. Why not? Spending. And suddenly, the savings you expected don't show up. Tokyo is cheaper, but it's also better at quietly convincing you to spend. Now we get to the real question. Which city gives you a better life for the same $3,000? Because it's not just about what's left in your bank account. It's about what your money allows you to do and who you become while living there. New York gives you high-density networking, career momentum, industry proximity, unlimited opportunities. If you can handle the pressure, but it's stressful. And it's expensive. And the margin for error is small. Tokyo gives you comfort and stability, clean, efficient infrastructure, lower day-to-day stress, but it can come with language barriers for deep networking, slower career growth for many foreigners, a smaller social circle if you're not intentional. New York pushes you. Tokyo stabilizes you. Neither is better. They're optimized for different goals. Here's the insight that matters most. Cost of living isn't the main point. Value of living is. Because saving money is not automatic. It requires a system. New York forces discipline because you don't have a choice. Tokyo tests discipline because you do. So if you want New York, the smarter play is make $4,500 to $5,000. So you have pressure and breathing room. If you want Tokyo, the smarter play is set aggressive automatic saving like $1,200 to $1,500 invested every month. So comfort doesn't turn into drift. So if you're thinking about moving, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what am I optimizing for in the next 3 years? Career growth, savings, or life experience? Second, which city supports that goal best? And third most important, what system will keep me disciplined once the environment changes? Because here's the truth. $3,000 can work in both cities. But only if you use it intentionally. New York will pressure you. Tokyo will tempt you. And the worst option is living in either city with no plan, just reacting month to month. So what's your move? Not New York or Tokyo. The real decision is whether you're going to live intentionally this year or let your environment decide for you. Because changing cities is easy. Changing habits is the real work.